We're gonna start the stream a tiny bit early because it usually takes me about that long to get chat set up and everything. And then we're gonna draw. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully this will be fun. It'll be fun for me, at the very least. Welcome to the chat. All right. Oh, need to make sure my secondary screen is open here. Whoop, there we go. Hello, welcome to the chat. Thank you. This is Paper Beats Scissors, or on Twitter, his name is Paper Beats Tweet. Makes lots of good shirts, and this is one of my favorite ones. So, we're gonna draw some stuff today. Let's draw some oath stuff. The oath stuff I'm gonna draw is, let's see. How about an enchantress? That's what we're gonna draw. Write that on the side so I don't forget. Enchantress. And then feel free to ask questions or anything you want like that. We'll get it going. Yeah, so we're going to draw an enchantress character for Oath. You're going to see kind of my process. I mostly do a lot of these cards, which is penciling and then inking and then erasing mostly. So let's get into it. Nobody's saying anything in the chat yet, so I'm just going to get going. A lot of times when I draw people, I'll start with kind of head shape. I don't know why. I feel like it just gives me a good place to start. I used to always draw chins first. Felt like a weird place to start. Aren't I a little uncomfortable? What do you mean? Oh. I have to be careful about notifications popping up on my phone. Hopefully nothing too annoying will happen, but no promises. Oh, yep, it's going to keep happening. Hopefully I don't get too popular there. Okay. Hi, Gates. I'm keeping this pretty loose at this stage. And we'll ink on top of it. So, how do I turn off notifications? I thought I had. Oh, yeah, that's getting bad. Sorry, when I tested this, I didn't have notifications happening at the time, so it was a non-issue, but now it's becoming an issue. So let's see if I can take care of that real quick. Sorry. Somebody can guide me through this. Maybe I can just turn off Slack notifications, since that's most of what the problem is going to be. Nope. Okay. Oh, and Twitter apparently. We're gonna have to have some notifications so I can remember what to turn back on. But yeah, I gotta turn off Slack. It makes that ticking noise at me all day. Okay. I think this is a good place to start. We'll start here. Hopefully the zooming won't be too annoying. Only it's going to do it every 5 seconds. Okay. That's me. Okay. So you can still hear the Slack notifications on the computer. There's not a lot I can do about that. Need to be somewhat in the loop. Patrick's going to tell some Kyle stories from conventions. Remember, we're trying to keep this wholesome. One thing I didn't actually consider when I was setting this up is the audio. I hope it's not picking up the audio from my computer and my phone at the same time. Let me know if that's a problem and we can hot fix that on the fly. Okay. Some of my best convention memories are just reading my liked tweets to Patrick and whoever else is in the hotel room, even though we're all dead tired. That's not a story so much as it's just how everything is going. Ryan says, "Hi, Kyle." Marshall's letting his son watch, wants to draw games like me. Well, I hope he can. My job is kind of weird. It's sometimes when we do conventions and we do panels and stuff, people always ask, "How do I get a job like you?" Like, man, I don't even know how I got a job like me. I hope the answer isn't take me out and take my job. I'm pretty lucky. Let's see. The name of this card currently is Enchantress. Let's see. Yeah, our first PAX East, we ended up in a tiny booth space. Yeah, it was actually half of a table from somebody else's booth, and I stood in the aisle to sell copies of Vast the Crystal Caverns. And we've come a long way, baby, from there. I mean, the world has changed quite a bit in the last few weeks from there, too, but we'll work on it. I just draw a lot of skulls. I don't know if this is a specific skull from Mysterious Manor, but this is going to be an oath card. Usually when I get to about this point and I have some good lines down, I'll erase part of it with a kneaded eraser so I can put down some heavier inks in the shadow regions. Did I think about how she would look before making the Enchantress, or is this just a first attempt kind of thing? Do you make some throwaway sketches? Yeah, I do. But you can't throw away a sketch unless you do the sketch. There's no point in hypothesizing what I think something will look like until I just start doing it. I don't get too precious with my materials. If I draw something and I think it looks terrible, or I don't like the way it looks just right, or I mess up a hand or something, then I just draw it again, draw the whole thing again. I don't do a lot of like trying to fix it in Photoshop afterward, unless it is just like one hand on the crowd scene or something. Most of the time I think it's just exercise and good practice to try and draw it over again. Yep, paper beat shirt. This is one of my favorite ones. Sometimes I'll pick up my kids wearing this shirt from school and think maybe this isn't the most appropriate one to wear to an elementary school. I know we weren't allowed to wear things with weapons and stuff when I was at school. It's cute. I'm not worried. This stream is forcing me to be mindful of my posture. It's bad. It's gonna be bad. So story time. I had a visual communication or a graphic design teacher in high school who had me for AP art, and he critiqued some of my senior portfolio that there wasn't enough contrast in my work, that it was all like, because I do a lot of cross hatching, but I didn't do a lot of like painting in areas of black or anything like I do now. And he was right. I look back at some of those things and there wasn't enough contrast. So teachers, sometimes they know what they're doing. He was a weird guy, Mr. Aiken. One kid was like acting up in class, and Mr. Aiken said to him, "Why don't we go out in the parking lot and I'll hit you with my car?" Just with that exact delivery. And we're like, never knew what to make of him. This is the same professor who told me some of my work was mega crap and kind of forced me to stop coasting along and actually try to get better at drawing. There are too many cards to redraw, especially now. Yeah, that might be true. We just might end up using pieces that I think are throwaway, but we just have to use all of them. No, I don't think we'll get to that point. If I don't like something, we're not going to publish it. Like, I'm not going to submit it to be turned into something real. All right. So there's some of that for that figure. I think sometimes I'll draw a background separately, and then I will, like in Photoshop, I'll put the characters on the foreground and the background the way I want. I think for this one, I'm going to draw the background kind of on the same layer. Put her kind of in a foresty situation, maybe with some more skulls out in the woods. Be mindful with oath cards too that I'm not drawing too much stuff that's going to be cut off, because oath cards are full bleed, and it's like and they're really vertical, so I'm probably going to get like that. Oh, sorry, my phone turned off. Whoop. Whoop. There we go. So I'm probably only going to get like that, and then everything on the sides and top is going to get cut off. I just need to remind myself every now and then to touch my phone so it doesn't go into sleep mode, because I'm not going to get into the settings right now on that either. some kind of rough outlines. Thanks. I don't know if it's a good sign or a bad sign that the chat is quiet. Hopefully it means that people are just enjoying or drawing themselves or something like that. I made the mistake of inking on the right side first, and I have to stick my hand in it to ink the left side. Rookie mistake. I don't think there are any more stories of Mr. Aiken's class. One of my buddies is also an artist, Jeff Hassing. He was in some of those classes with me, and we were so ahead in all of our work that the teacher had us paint some stuff for him or just do like some side work, and one of them was to do these little sawhorses that had been decorated to look like lions, and they were for a dance routine that the Diettes, the Davis Dart dancers, the Diettes were going to dance on. And they needed to be painted like lions. And I remember going to pick out the paint, and I still remember that the color of a lion is Bar Harbor beige was the closest paint color we could find. And that we painted them to look like lions. And they were like semi-realistic, but they were still shaped like sawhorses with like rocking horse dimensions. Anyway, the things you remember. I don't know why I can't remember my kids' birthdays, but I remember Bar Harbor beige. Oh, I know Patrick's telling stories. Patrick says, we had hired Kyle to work in the spring of 2015. I lost my job in February 2015. A few months ahead of Vast Crystal Caverns Kickstarter. I was at the Children's Museum when Intrepid and Stalwart came from Kyle. Oh, the two of the cards from Vast. And saw them for the first time, and I knew at that moment that things are going to be fine. Aw. Yeah, I liked my last job that I had. And I wouldn't have left it for anything but a dream job, and this has been a dream job. I really like illustrating board games. When I begin to draw something, how much of the image is already in my head when I start the drawing versus created on the fly as you draw? I don't know that I've ever really considered that. I feel like drawing it is creating it. Like, I do have a mental picture of what I want it to look like, and sometimes it'll be more specific than others, but sometimes I only decide what it's going to look like as I'm drawing it. So it's probably 50-50, if I'm being honest. Like, I have a general idea of a composition in my head for something like a card like this is, and then only gets more specific from there. So sometimes a lot of illustration, in my opinion, or even graphic design, is just training your eyes to see things a certain way. Like, I didn't have these skulls in the background pictured in any kind of specific way in my head, but I just drew one to see how it would look, and then I put the other ones down placement-wise in relationship to that first one to see how they'd look. And I did it in pencil in case I screwed it up or thought they looked bad, but these are okay. These are looking vague enough for what I need. I can fill them in more or less in this if I want. I'm also just trying to create some visual hierarchy. Usually faces are the first things people look at in the foreground, and these will probably be colored in the background to be a softer color to give them atmospheric perspective. So they won't stand out as much as they are right now, but they're kind of going to be the secondary information of the image. So someone who looks at the card just briefly will know what it looks like and sees and get kind of a general idea of what it is. And someone who spends some time looking at the card for more than a second will notice some of these details in the background and hopefully enjoy them. So it's also one of the reasons I like working in ink, is because it's so permanent that you kind of have to commit to things or learn to kind of fudge, draw on top of them if they don't turn out the way you want, or start over. It forces you to be prolific. What's something you still find difficult to draw? Shoes, horses, etc. I'm going to say horses. I think I've had to draw a few for Oath now already, and that shows how much I love this company and this game that we're working on, is that I'm willing to draw horses for it. Now let's see. Ooh, make sure my phone doesn't go to sleep. We used to joke around that there are two kinds of people in the world. People who can't draw horses and people who only draw horses. And I think there are very few artists that feel like they have a really good handle on horses, unless horses are just like their thing. Let's see. Is there a story behind the card, or is there simply spooky lady doing spooky stuff? I try to put some of the, I mean, the general gist is that it's a spooky lady doing spooky stuff, but I try and put enough things in the card, little details, that you can kind of put your own story with it, wonder what the rest of it is about. With Root and with Oath, we're trying to keep all the narrative stuff loose enough that people can put their own stories on it. And so I could have just drawn a spooky lady, but I kind of gave her facial expression and some background details and things that maybe say, maybe there's more going on with this enchanting lady, this enchantress. And then I'm going to leave those eyes and the skull white so I can make them kind of glowy when I color this digitally later. I'm going to have to look at that link later, Cole, how to draw a horse. Do you plan out an entire deck or look at the deck before you start illustrating single cards to avoid accidentally overlapping subjects or to maintain a similar feel throughout? There's that many that I'm not worried about overlapping subjects. I mean, with Root, even if it was like a card that said mouse with a sword, like there are plenty of cards that have mice with swords, but like plenty of ways to show that in different contexts or whatever. So I'm not too worried about it. Most of the time I'll look at a card like I'm about to do, oh, let's see, I think my phone fell asleep again. Then I will kind of figure out what to do based on what the card does. And sometimes I'll ask Cole or somebody like, hey, tell me what this card actually does, so then I can draw something that makes sense with it. Let's see. Big fans of your work and Root and Vast. Looking forward to playing Oath when it finally wills itself into existence. I wish it willed itself into existence. It's going to take a lot of people's wills. Let's do this card. Sounds cool. Okay, so this one's going to be called Portal, I guess. Portal! First I'm going to start with pencil drawing. I'll try and keep it kind of in frame. If I start drifting too much, I'll watch the chat and somebody can holler at me. Okay, portal, 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 portal. Let's make it a funny portal. Let's do it like a portal in the ground. Like a portal you have to jump into. We'll do maybe some like husky looking army warrior type guys looking down and at like, I'm not so sure. And then a wizard pointing at them to hop on in. Okay, and this guy will have a sword coming up like this to show that he's ready for action. And then we'll do like some kind of wizard over here, instructing this to take place. Pointing down in the hole, like, your turn. Extending a hand to this guy, like, it's your turn specifically. Do some rocks or things around, and then maybe just like the barest structure of a room. And that'll be good for what we need. Maybe some candles. Candles are portally, summoning circly. What suit is this card? This is arcane, yeah. Let's see, I'll read it. Portal says, right now, it says travel from this site to any site. 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's about all the detail I'm going to put in it right now, and then we'll ink it. I'm going to move my keyboard a tiny bit. Where's my paper? Okay, so I'm going to erase this just a tiny bit so I can just get an idea of composition or shape placement, and then I'm going to ink it. Add all the detail. Question for Patrick and Cole says, how early do you guys alert Kyle to start crafting the world in your games? For one thing, it's not just me doing the world crafting. I get to be a part of it, but usually they, at least from my experience, they have an idea and then they'll show me the idea and they'll kind of make something to work to fit it. Sometimes that process is long and has twists and turns. So for Oath, it's going to have a very different artistic direction at first, but it ended up in a different place, and I think that's okay. It's very weird to like draw under plastic. What? This guy's some kind of helmet. Jumping down into the portal. And kind of the most important visual element communicating wise is the finger of this wizard. Going to be pointing down into the portal, like, hop on in, buddy. Will be like his nostrils. The reason for the plastic is because that's what's holding my phone up. Maybe I can show you my rig really quick. Zoom out. So here is how I'm filming this. It's a piece of like poster plastic held up by a copy of the 2 best games. And those have weights on them, a stapler and a science fiction book. And then that has my phone resting on it. That way I can see what my phone is doing, because I don't have like a stand for it or anything like that. Patrick says, I'm second only to his spouse for knowing what he's actually working on. That's funny. There's the wizard extending his hand, saying, "You're next." I'll give him a cape. I'll draw enough wizards with capes. Okay, and we'll do the portal shape a little bit narrower. Okay, we'll have this guy kind of looking nervous about jumping into the portal. How about that? So you can see I'm not exactly following my lines, but they're giving me good reference point. If I think, boy, I made that guy's arm too long or something, and I can just change it. I'm not too worried about making it look accurate so much as I am making it look readable. You can tell what's going on, because these are going to be little bitty cards. Anyway, this guy's holding some kind of spear. And looking down into the portal. We'll draw some candles, and then we'll get into some of the ink work. Let's see. Yeah. Whoop. Let's see. Can we put bears in root? We get that question a lot. There's a bear I like peace in root for people to do little I can't think of the word. We were going to do like little campaigns or little themed things for people to jump onto. I think we have a couple kind of in the works. I don't think we have any officially published ones besides maybe a Halloween themed route, like campaign, and then Patrick did one about like a Firebird or something that I think is on Board Game Geek somewhere, but not like published elsewhere. Let's see. That guy's like, I did not sign up for this. Yep. We'll do. Let's see. Okay. The background is kind of secondary. It's going to be there to ground them, but not too worried about it. Yeah. Let me know if the sketchbook is getting too crooked in the view too. I'm trying to keep it in a place where you can see it, but I'm used to just moving the sketchbook around to where I need it to be. I'm probably much more hunched over than this when I'm drawing most of the time. Making accommodations so I could be watched. Alright. Let's add some ink. the great thing is, when you guys play Oath and you get to this card, you'll be like, I saw this. I witnessed this happen. Make the portal look as inky and ominous as possible. This will probably be colored in Photoshop and changed a little bit so it looks a little bit more glowy than this, but it's a good start. Add some shadows in here. Sending them to their birthday party. One of my favorite YouTube videos is the Monster Factory that Griffin McElroy and Justin McElroy do, where they play, oh, I can't remember the name of the game, but they play one where they make a crime boy, and he just has to fight crime, and the whole shtick is that he's not going to commit any crimes, but the game forces you to commit crimes the whole game. And so it gets to a certain point where they can't progress without killing anyone. And so they use this bazooka energy weapon that just vaporizes their enemies, and they keep calling it the teleport gun. But they're just teleporting their enemies to Arby's, or no, they teleport them to Dairy Queen. That's right. So this is a portal to Dairy Queen. This is the sort of thing where if I was a very literal, like, cartoonist, the wizard would be saying something like, "No, it won't hurt me a bit." Some bricks in the background. Most of the stuff on the side is going to get cut off. Just going to add a little bit of shadows on the ground with the portal as the light source. And there's portal. Yeah, Saints Row 3 is that Monster Factory. It's so funny. And the language is pretty atrocious, so don't watch it with kids, but my goodness. The teleport gun is one of the funniest things. I bet I've watched that one like 6 times. Let's see. I missed some stuff in the comments. Somebody asked, why do you work so fast? Just, you got to, yeah, the detail of the portal bits and mystic junk getting flung around or the soldiers jumping in. Yeah, that should be, I want it to look a little bit gross. I think Cole put it best when he was doing an interview about Oath, where he said he wanted it to, that he thought that I was capturing something that was like a fantasy setting that was kind of mixed in some way with a Muppet aesthetic. I embrace that wholeheartedly. I love the Muppets, so this is a Muppet portal situation. Somebody said, oh, is Nick saying how consistently comedic my work is? Well, thanks. The goal is always to have people smile when they're looking at it, to get some joy out of it. That's why I always try and avoid like anything too like violent or explicitly graphic. Like even when we're making war games or fantasy games, like I always want it to be kind of like understated or off screen or things. That way you can kind of chuckle at it. Maybe just for a second I'll talk about the tools I use, and then we'll see where the afternoon takes us. But so for this, I'm just using my regular sketchbook paper. It's just an acid-free sketchbook paper, and then the sorry, keep forgetting to unlock my phone. The pencil I'm using is just a super hard lead drafting pencil. I bet I sharpen this once a year. Just hardly anything comes off of it, but it's just light enough that I can erase it really easily. So it makes it so I can draw, then ink on top of it, and then erase it. The eraser that I'm using is just a kneaded eraser. I keep it from drying out. I keep it in this Altoids box, which is a tip that I got from Heather Mahler, who's another Utah illustrator you should follow. She's great. And these are Smalltoids. Just keep it in there. And then the pens I'm using, most of the time I'm using like an 01 or a 005 Prismacolor pencil. I figured for the stream I would try and draw a little bit bigger and use a little bit thicker ink so you could see it. So it's usually an 01 for Oath. A lot of the root stuff is with the 005, which is just a really, really thin. I'll show you. Like the difference, whoop, the difference between those is pretty negligible, but for this stream I'm using the 03. And then ink pens, I use this Kuretake, I think that's how you say it, it's Kuretake brush pen. And then I have another Pentel brush pen that my kids got to, and it's kind of messed up right now, so I haven't used it in a little bit. And that's pretty much it. And I'm just scanning it on my Epson scanner at 600 DPI and coloring it digitally. So, yeah. Which of the suits have been the most fun to draw so far? I like them all. I helped make them with Cole. I helped come up with the concepts for what the suits would be, and so I didn't pick anything that I thought would be stupid. I like all of them. The arcane stuff has been fun just because I like drawing wizards and things, but I'm probably just saying that because that's what I'm working on right now. Do I name my pens like Bobby Pen? No, not really. This is brush pen. Brush pen. And then Cole pointed out to me today that this pencil has a name on it. Koh-i-Noor, which is, I guess, a diamond of some repute that is in the Queen's crown right now, but was not an English treasure for a long time, to put it nicely. I don't name them other than that, though. Let's see. I really like your farm animals you did some time ago, especially the duck animals. How about a farm animal faction, a pillager faction, or raiders? Could be bears. So bears and root, we've been over this almost every video, but a bear and root would be like the size of an ogre or a giant. And so they would have to be their own kind of thing. Maybe that would work for raiders. I don't know how the farm animal thing would work, but it would be fun. I can kind of show you. I'm still doing the art for the Root RPG. And I just drew a duck the other day. So I'll show you another duck. This is, where is it? I'm going to open it without disclosing too much. Whoop. Middle Earth. Whoop. There's another duck. Let's see. There's a board game called Everdell that also contains animals. One of their expansions about giants, just larger animals like moose and bears. Would you like to explore something like this in Root? I don't design the factions, so I come up with what they look like and maybe help with the theming, but that is not my call. Everdell is also illustrated by my good friend Andy Bosley. So Andrew's a cool guy. I think a Utah guy too. But let's see. Frog. Yeah, there's a frog. Or this is a toad, actually. Trying to think. What else? Probably have time to draw one more quick thing. I'll put up the ones that we've done already, and then I'll draw one sideways over here. How about that? How do I draw frogs and toads differently? I don't draw them tons differently. I just know that in the spec it was supposed to be a toad, and he's going to be more brown in color and have more bumps. Let's see. Let's find another one. Let's draw another wizard. That's fun. This one's going to be called Rusting Ray, which I guess could just be someone's name. Good old Rusty Ray. Okay, and so because these are super vertical cards, I'm going to have to take that into account, because normally if I was drawing someone shooting like a ray of magic or something, I would like draw someone over here and then the thing they were pointing at over here, but that doesn't really work for an oath card. An oath card needs to be vertical. Thank you for buying art prints. Whoever said that in the chat. So let's do this. Let's draw some kind of, I think what's going to be the biggest emphasis is probably going to be some hands. Do kind of octopus looking hands coming out from the sides. We'll do someone kind of like hunched over, so this is their head, either nose, some eyes, and then if it's called Rusting Ray, let's do it. I mean, the most obvious thing is just going to be a sword, so that would be a sword coming off like this. It looks like some of the other swords I've drawn, and then let's have it just blowing up in there, falling apart. We'll do some of this coming off of it, and then we'll get this person a good mop of hair. Have some of it flying up like Dragon Ball Z rocks. And that might be all we need to sketch for this. I'll ink it. Okay. Since this is going to kind of be the most important part to look at, because that's communicating what the card does. Shall make that the emphasis. Gugorkia, your bears sound super OP. The important thing when we're making any of the root factions is that, like, you can make things that sound fun, but I've heard both Cole and Patrick say that if it's not fun for everyone when they've been included, or make something interesting for everyone, then you maybe get a pass on that faction. Let's do that, and then draw their eyes. Coming down. They'll probably be hunched over enough that you can't see their face. Do some hair. This pen might be coming to the end of its life. Oh, let's see. Whoop. There we go. Sorry. Normally, you can tell how much when I'm working, how much I'm actually checking my phone. Not that much. It's important to get in the zone, as it were. I mean, I literally have the phone right in front of me, right here, and I'm not checking it. So, okay, there's some arms. And I think most of what the rest we're going to do is with the brush pen here. So let's go from here. Let's see. Try not to make everything scratch too much. Okay, brush pen time. Fun time. Have the sword just kind of eroding like that. And then we're going to have energy lines coming off there, and then this is kind of the edge of the table, so we'll just communicate that simply. Put some shadows up here where they're relevant. So we want to consider the sword kind of to be the light source. I'm not really going to draw anything on the chest here except for maybe a couple little hatching lines. And then the rest of this is going to kind of do what we did on the Enchantress, which is just communicate space back here. I keep doing that. I keep inking on the right side, and then I can't lift my hand over it, so I can't smudge wet ink. I'm just thinking about my hand placement too much because I don't want to cover up the camera. All right. I almost did it again. I just said I wouldn't, and I almost did again. What were some of the major themes we thought about when making the Oath world? Well, in Cole's vision of Oath that we discussed many conventions ago at a Indianapolis food court where we both ate Philly cheesesteaks, Cole was talking to me about this game he was calling Saga at the time, just a working title, where he wanted it to be kind of like a legacy game, but you didn't have to break anything. Where like the game could have like a save state, where you could keep track of what you'd done, and the world would change. We weren't sure how we were going to do that at first. We thought magnets, or kind of like the Trudvang game does, where you're sliding cards into plastic sheets to keep for later. But we thought fantasy would have to be the way we did it, because even though Root is fantasy and Vast is fantasy, it would give us the most room to kind of play with history without having to reference specific people or group, and to make sure that we're not doing anything offensive or misrepresenting anyone. So fantasy was always on the table, how we wanted to do it. And then I had some ideas for kind of like a Norse theme that we had to scrap eventually. But I really love the Chronicles of Prydain books that I've discussed before. So we just wanted to have it be kind of a magic place that was its own feel, but ambiguous enough that people could write their own stories about it. And that's always been the goal with Oath or Root or Vast or any of them. So give this guy kind of an outline, and then this area directly behind him is going to be all washed out. When I color this, I'm going to be filling in these areas, so it won't look so round. Let's see. Best sandwich filling. When I lived in England, my favorite sandwich filling was Coronation chicken, which was like a curry chicken that had raisins in it. And I don't usually like raisins, but I miss that. That was good. I'm pretty limited in my diet right now and what I can eat, so most days I just have a turkey sandwich. Mayo and yellow mustard on gluten-free bread. No cheese. Sometimes I'll put an olive on there or something. Miss you too, John. I miss all the convention people. So this is, if I had to say, like, there's one thing about drawing that is like something you can learn versus natural talent. Something I'm just not sure about is hatching, because it's something I feel like I'm pretty good at. I can draw a lot of equidistant lines to fill a space pretty quickly. Like even if it was just like here's a circle, here's this shape. Like, oh, I can fill that with lines that are pretty equidistant without going outside the lines too much. Now that I'm saying it, I probably am too. But like, if I ever lost my right hand, I don't think I could teach my left hand to do that as quick as I can do it with my right hand. It's just a muscle memory thing. No cons means no Patrick, and that's chill. No! I miss everybody. I was the only Leader Games staff person that worked remotely before, and so now that we're like doing video conferences and things every day, I'm actually seeing and hearing from my coworkers a lot more than I used to. And there's more people at my house because my kids aren't in school and things. But it's been a big change for everybody. Just thinking a lot about how everybody's doing, and hope everybody's getting by and staying sane. It's hard. It's hard to have this big a change, but it's important to try and keep people safe. Appreciate all of you who are taking it seriously. Okay, I think that's the end of this one. Probably a good place to wrap up. Maybe I can zoom out and we can see all the ones that we did today. So here's Rusting Ray, and here's Portal, and here's Enchantress. So if anybody has any kind of last minute questions, now's the time. And we'll probably end it off here. Does anybody have any questions? The world of Void Lich is still in flux. It's just a sci-fi setting that Patrick is working on, and still in flux. I think if I were to give away anything at this point, it's still stuff that might change, so probably not that reliable of information. Sorry. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Everybody stay safe out there and be good, and thanks for watching, and we'll have to do this again next time now that I know how to do it. Bye.